Hi, I'm Kevin Devine, and this is the ProSource podcast. In each episode, we'll be talking to industry experts, including trade professionals, suppliers, and our showroom staff, about a variety of topics within home and commercial projects. Enjoy! Today, I'm joined by Ryan Coleman, one of our Trade Pro members at ProSource.
Yes, sir. Glad to be here.
Glad you joined us. So let's start with this. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Yeah. RC Construction and Remodeling, located in St. Charles, but we cover just about everywhere in St. Louis. Do everything but new home builds for the most part. Okay. So interiors, kitchens, bathrooms, basements, decks, exteriors. Been doing it for about 16 years now.
Maybe it's easier to ask what you don't do.
Yeah, about what we don't do is new home builds and roofing is about the only two things we don't do.
Okay, there you go. And for those not familiar, we're talking about Missouri when we say St. Louis. For those of you across the country,
yes,
just throwing that out there. So, well, let's start with this. Today we're talking about home remodeling trends, specifically the forecast for 2024. So as we look forward with that, or now that we're actually in 2024, what goes into anticipating home remodeling trends?
That's a tricky question because I think you kind of go back to 2023 a little bit and see what was going on there, and fourth quarter of that going into 2024. But we do so many different projects. We get to touch a lot of different areas with it's kitchens and bathrooms, it's flooring trends, that kind of stuff. So you've taken a lot of the consideration, the colors that people are using, the different materials. So as far as getting into 2024 trends, a little tricky right now because it's only January. But I think the next few months here, we'll figure out what the new colors are going to be and what kind of materials are going to be as we go.
Okay. Does it tend to really change a lot from year to year?
Not much. I mean, there's going to be some things different. I mean, I think right now you're seeing a lot more warmer colors being used, not so much the hard whites anymore, a little more creativity in people's designs. But that was more of a 2023, end of 2023 going into 24. So we'll see if it continues.
Okay. So I do have my questions in front of me. So if I look down, just know that's all I'm doing. I'm not falling asleep on you here or anything. But so as a trade professional, how do you approach trends? And specifically, how do those influence in any advice or any guidance that you offer to your clients?
I just kind of read the room and see what the clients want to do. I use ProSource a lot for our designs. And so working with you guys and getting that opportunity to work with Renee and Lisa, specifically in Fenton, we have a lot of clients that come in, they look at different colors, that kind of stuff. But as far as how I can't say manipulate the room or help them, I just kind of push them in the right direction. Read the room, see what they are. Are they, they're a young couple? Are they an older couple? Do they have kids? Is this their forever home? Is this a 3 to 5 year home? So it kind of depends on what input you're going to do into the house, how much money you're going to spend.
Okay. So how does your experience as a trade pro then influence how you navigate a specific trend?
Oh, that's a tricky one because
I like to ask tricky questions.
Yeah, I see that.
Especially of mine.
As far as navigating it in my experience, I think we've done so many different projects and seen so many different trends over the years that you kind of just roll with the punches a little bit, right? There's not much we don't do, so when you get into those situations, it's relying on the right people to put yourself in the right space.
So do those trends, even though they may not change that much from year to year, does it sometimes put a challenge on you and not just yourself, but even your crews as far as staying abreast of them and being able to implement them? Is there additional training that may go into it or
Absolutely.
Research that needs to go into it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Take like the big tile formats right now people are doing. We just did a shower the other day that was 4 foot by 2 foot panels that were ceramic tile. It's a whole different application than doing your standard 12 by 12 or subway tile. Completely different materials, completely different process. And so, I had a couple guys go to school for a couple days to learn how to do that. Definitely kind of keeps you on your toes. That's the joy of remodeling. I always tell people, it's never the same thing every day. You never know what you're getting yourself into. So especially with, the project itself and the house itself, but then you add in different products and trends, something new every day. It's exciting.
I like how you said that, by the way, that was a great question as opposed to the tricky questions I've been asking up until now.
Tricky and great.
Yeah, I'm trying to balance it between the two. So, all right. Now, as we look toward this, what direction do you see home remodeling trends sort of evolving into moving forward?
I think, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, it seems like people are doing a lot more colors right now. We're painting a lot of kitchen cabinets. We're installing a lot of kitchen cabinets with color. Still doing the white countertops. Those are always going to be popular. But, wallpaper's making a comeback. So a lot of people are getting creative.
Wallpaper's coming back.
Yeah.
Everything is cyclical.
Exactly. The same thing like, gold fixtures, gold faucets, gold handles. Gold's coming back, right? Okay. So what you should have tore out of your house, 20 years ago is coming right back.
When was this advice before then?
So it's We'll see where it goes, but I think a little more creativity, a little more wall coverings, wainscoting and board and batten. That's coming back. So it's definitely a little more creative. I mean, you can go throw that to Pinterest, for example, and people love getting on Pinterest and making the boards. It makes my life easy because you can literally show me a picture of what you want. But there's a lot of creative people out there doing stuff that makes it on social media now that you can access easier. So I think that's going to be kind of fun to see.
So you mentioned, the kitchen cabinets. So how much are we actually really moving away from the infamous white shaker cabinets? I mean, I'm sure they'll probably never go away, but you're saying there's a diminishing trend going on here with that?
I don't think they'll ever go away because it's timeless, right? And white never gets old. It's easy to keep clean. But there's a lot of, as far as, wiping a shaker cabinet down isn't too difficult, right?
Okay.
But, we're doing a cool green color right now in Sunset Hills. We just did a blue one in South County, like a navy blue. We did, like a storm gray in Afton a few months ago. So definitely the colors are coming back, especially maybe if you do like a white exterior color as far as the exterior cabinets, and then do like a colored island or something like that. That's getting very popular too. So
having the two-toned kitchen.
Yeah. So I don't know if the white ever goes away, but it's definitely changing a little bit as it goes because it's not that hard to get cabinets painted these days either. So if you do a cool blue color in 5 years, you don't want it, paint.
Do you see it going even one step further? Do you see three-tone colors in kitchens even more, or?
It's just two tones right now.
Okay.
The white and grays, the grays and blues, those kind of colors are working right now because you can get the consistent countertops there too, right? So you can do a nice white countertop, do some colored cabinets, get creative with the island or whatever. And like I said, if you don't like it, you can paint them in 5 years.
Are people breaking out too with cabinet hardware, or is that, meaning are they getting creative in the types of cabinet hardware they go through? Is that pretty basic?
Sizing, right? So multiple sizes of pulls, multiple sizes of handles. Like I said, gold's coming back. Black's real popular right now. The chrome and nickels are getting pushed out by the black and gold's coming back. So that part's is adding to those two-tone islands and countertops and cabinets that is just making the creativity that much different.
Okay. So as you look back, you said sometimes it helps to look back into the fourth quarter. So what home design trends did you see that were on the rise in 2023, and maybe they do start to continue to carry forward in 24?
I think it's the same kind of question as we had there with the gold handles.
I didn't ask anything new.
The black fixtures. We just did a really cool basement for some great clients over in Belle Reve they wallpapered all the ceilings with like a wood grain.
They wallpapered the ceilings?
Wallpapered the ceilings, and this wood grain turned out really, really cool.
Okay.
But just that creative side, right? Something I would never have thought that we were going to be wallpapering ceilings, but here we are wallpapering ceilings. So that was something cool. We've done a lot of wallpaper in bathrooms in the last, 6 months or so. Still not really flashy, but just enough that gives some texture and kind of makes it a little softer. So those are some of the things I'd see moving forward.
I just want to kind of stick on this because it does kind of, it sounds surprising anyway, wallpaper making a comeback, but is it more bold in its nature, or is it maybe a little more muted? Like you did a wood tone here on the ceiling.
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
You've got the soft, the people don't want to have something so vibrant and, kind of punch you in your mouth, but you've also got the dark wood grain grooved textures, that we just put on a ceiling that turned out awesome. So I think it's just all personality. I think it's about your age, personality, what part of town you live in. That all kind of, those demographics feed into what your style is going to be.
So here's maybe another way of saying it. Are you seeing that a lot of the trends, the way that they're going with the color in the wallpaper, that it's becoming much more personal and not caring so much what other people might think, what other people might look at when they come in there, but the homeowners themselves, this is what I want. This is what I want to see.
I agree with you 100% there. Well, let's put it this way, 50-50. Yeah. Half the people can have a vision and see what it's going to look like before it's done and know exactly what they want. And they don't care what the neighbor has. They don't care what anybody else has. The other person has to go on Pinterest and look and say, I like this, I don't like this. And then that's where you have to get the designer involved to help them kind of visualize that space. And so those are the people that seem to be more trendy towards what's happening right now, opposed to the people that are a little more stubborn, if you will, that say, this is what I want, this is how it's going to be, and this is what we're going to do.
Okay. When you look at those trends from 2023 and might be carrying forward to 24, what about those particular trends may lend itself to newer trends in 2024 that might even help some of these trends evolve more in this upcoming year?
I think the color creativeness is from 2023 coming in 2024 is going to be something that's going to continue. We did a really cool kitchen a while back, about 6 months ago, that I think still plays with some board and batten look. So the whole dining room was board and batten, painted 2 different color tones, but it tied into the wood cabinets that were on the island. So I think getting those trends as far as the colors and the warmness, and not that hard white tops, white countertops, white cabinets, those kind of things. I think that's what's going to continue to keep pushing.
Okay. So when we look at product development, what about product development is helping push some of these trends in maybe certain directions? Is there anything with regard to that?
I think product development is, you take luxury vinyl, for example. How popular is luxury vinyl right now?
A tad bit.
Yeah, exactly. So, you can put it in the basement, obviously, because it's waterproof. It undulates with the concrete well. People put it on the first floors. They're getting away from the 3/4 inch hardwoods now, because you can get the 15-year tread warranty out of a luxury vinyl on some products. You can get the cool colors. You can get sizes, widths. It's so creative, but that product is changing the flooring aspect, right?
Just luxury vinyl itself?
Yeah.
Roughly about a year ago, we talked with Neil Ross, our vice president of merchandising, and he talked about waterproof flooring coming along and how a little bit the industry was ahead of people looking for that particular product, that was waterproof flooring was being pushed out there, but maybe people weren't necessarily ready to adapt it so quickly or move to it. Do you see that changing at all? Do you see a lot of people looking? You mentioned luxury vinyl being waterproof. Do you see a lot of people asking for that particular feature at this time?
Absolutely. Okay. Basements especially.
Okay.
People, we've got multiple jobs right now of pipes bursting because it's Missouri in January. It's cold. Pipes are bursting.
Please don't say that. What am I going home to now?
Floorings is getting ruined. Where with that luxury vinyl, it's waterproof. It's it's an easy cleanup. So very, very popular for basements especially. But we're doing it in more spaces than that, in bathrooms, because it's waterproof. Or the humidity, expansion, contraction. It's an awesome product, but as far as changing the game with product development, that's I'd say one of the number ones.
Okay, so is luxury vinyl, just because of how you've been talking about it, is that probably the number one flooring you're putting in as far as quantity here? I'm talking about, is it most people choosing that, or is it just it's popular but maybe not the one you're putting in the most?
Most people are choosing it for basements,
okay.
But as far as the first floor goes, you still got your 1/2 inch hardwoods, your 3/4 hardwoods that are very popular because they're just a little richer. You're going to get that color, you're going to get that natural wood. But basements 100%.
Well, I guess when they're thinking about a particular trend and saying, I want to put this into a room, is there anything that they have to maybe navigate through that they've really got to make? Are you considering this before you put that in a room? Like, let's say it's a particular color. You mentioned like blue, and you're seeing you just put in blue cabinets, but is there something they need to think about when they do that they have to consider before they just make that jump?
I think that goes back to, reading the room as a homeowner. Is this their forever home? Is this their 3 to 5 year home? Is this, are we flipping this home? What are we doing to the house to get this product in there? So if you're doing something that's going to be real trendy, that's going to be super vibrant, and because it's the trend right now, is that going to be good for you to sell the house in 3 to 5 years?
Right.
Or you can do something more neutral where it's going to apply to everybody and not, scare some buyers away potentially. Or is this your forever home and you're that person that doesn't care? This is what I want. This is what's going in. And if I have to change it, I'll change it.
I think the hard part is sometimes people don't know if it's a forever home or the 3 to 5 year home. And the way the housing market went here recently, it changed a lot of people's opinions.
Absolutely.
Do you ever find that I'll stick with the navy blue because it's a little darker color. Do you make sure that they understand how lighting can impact the room when you're going with those colors, whether it's a lighter color or a darker color?
100%. We do a lot of cam light installs because they're such an easy install, and most houses just have the singular, ceiling fan in the middle. Yep. So before we even paint the rooms, let's get the lighting in here. Let's put some samples on the wall. Let's see how you guys like it, because once we do it, it's going to cost you a lot more money to redo it than it is to cover some samples up. So the darker colors are always a little more difficult, and I think they're as far as wall colorings, they're a little more unusual than just your standard grays and whites and more neutral colors.
Well, when you look at what the paint companies came out with from their colors of the year, Pantone came out with Peach Fuzz. Setting aside the name alone, it was a unique color.
I would love to see who comes up with the names on the paint colors, right?
That's a fun job right there.
Very creative.
So, I want that job myself. So is there a way for homeowners to anticipate trends in some way when they're selecting products?
Is there a way to gaze into a crystal ball?
I think that crystal ball is Pinterest, right? For a lot of people, or, there's several trade magazines around that have, up and coming products that haven't been released yet, or, but Pinterest is always on the edge because it's people kind of outside the box doing creative stuff. Not that I have any stake in Pinterest here, but
either you have a stake or you like to surf Pinterest yourself.
I don't. I have enough clients that give me enough Pinterest information. I don't have to surf it too much, but it's a very helpful source for sure.
So, how, as a trade pro, how can you assist in that process?
The cool thing is it's simple, right? So go build. You want to look at a bathroom? Go on bathrooms on Pinterest and just build your board. So you add stuff, and then you can send me that board, so I can go through with you and say, what was the colors in this picture you liked? Was it the materials? What was your inspiration behind this? And I think it narrows the gap down quite a bit between the homeowner not knowing what they want and me trying to figure out what they want. I think it narrows the gap quite a bit.
Is there an unexpected area in the house that's going to get more focus in 2024 than before? Like, if you go back to the days of the pandemic, let's not go back to the days of the pandemic, but let's glance upon them for a moment. Home office was a huge room because people were working from home. So having that dedicated working space, that became obviously a big piece of it. Is there a room as you look into 2024 that's getting a little more attention outside of the traditional kitchen and bathroom that obviously is always high on the remodeling list?
Outdoor living space.
Outdoor living. Okay.
Yep. Because people are still working from home. They want that, not cooped up in that office, not cooped in that spare bedroom all day, or not cooped in the basement, bedroom where your office is at. Last year, we did quite a few. Ever since COVID started, they've been picking up, but outdoor spaces, whether it's 3-season rooms, screened-in porches, whatever it is, because you can take your laptop out there, you can do exactly what you're doing on a nice spring day, or a summer day with the mini split inside of it or something like that. But outdoor spaces are going to be big again in 2024.
So let's go back a bit when I talked about the training and advancement you've had to make with some of these changes. Did that change a little bit from your business of where you needed to focus with the growth of the outdoor living?
Yeah, I mean, we've always done decks and patios and that kind of stuff, but now they're becoming full screened enclosures and fully attached roof systems with ceiling fans and exhaust can lights and a lot of more amenities inside to make it more comfortable so that people can spend a day out there. They can spend a nice springtime out there. So definitely a changes and adapts, but I've got a great team. I've got 15 guys that work for me, and we're very very adverse in all of our abilities. So people throw stuff our way, it's not the end of the world.
Do you also see a lot of pool tile coming into place as opposed to just concrete around the pool? Are you finding pavers leading out there and pool tile and more decorative aspects there?
We don't do pools ourselves, but I have a friend.
Found another thing you don't do.
That's right. But I have a friend who's in the pool business, and they've been crazy busy ever since COVID because everybody can't go out and couldn't go out and enjoy like they used to. But outdoor spaces are, a lot more stamped concrete, a lot more colored concrete, pavers for sure, and the backyard pool areas are getting just as big as the enclosed spaces. So,
do you find homeowners care about trends, or that it really influences their decision, or is it just, I guess it's the weighing out? Is it more personal preference, or do they really get influenced by the trends and say, I was going to go this way, but this is what seems to be trending. Let me go over here.
Sure. I think that's a loaded question for sure, because you've got the 50-50. You've got the people that know exactly what they want, and this is where it's going to be, and this is how it is. And you got the people that don't really have that vision. They're going to look for those trends of magazines and talking to other people and seeing what the next house mom did down the street to change her kitchen or her bathroom or flooring or whatever. So I think it also depends on a lot of age group, right? Your demographics. Older people are going to be a little more solid, and this is what it's going to be because this is how it's been. Whereas a little younger crowd is going to be a little more adventurous and colors in the kitchen and doing some different stuff because they're not stuck in their ways of this how it was and this is how it's going to be.
What about the young at heart?
The young at heart, you gotta love the people with young at heart. Yeah, they're probably the trickiest because they're kind of a wild card, right?
Now I'm going to ask you to look into your crystal ball, and you look 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. Is there anything you see coming on the horizon? You're like, maybe it's not here now. Maybe it's not even a trend for 2024, but this could definitely be something bigger further down the line.
I think the industry is in such a good spot we're doing every aspect of the home, right? We're not doing, and maybe that's just because that's our business. We don't do bathrooms and kitchens, but every space is evolving as it goes, whether it's smarter electronics, whether it's smart home stuff, which, every single, light bulb and appliance and everything's all Wi-Fi, right? So you can talk to them.
Why do I want to flip a switch when I can ask Alexa to do it
Right.
for
So
me?
if you're talking about 10 years from now, that's got to keep evolving, of course.
Right.
What does that lead into as far as the different materials are going to become available with, I just installed an exhaust fan at my house over the weekend. It's Alexa. What you tell it to turn on and it turns on. Right. So where does that go in the next 5 to 10 years as far as making life easier or more difficult for some people, I guess. But
how much did you charge yourself for the labor on that?
that was on the house. 12 pack of Busch Lights, but all cost.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So I don't know. That's a tough one. That's something to think about for sure.
Okay, great. Well, certainly appreciate your time joining us here and sharing your insights with us. Ryan Coleman.
Okay, we're going to switch gears a little bit here as we're joined by Kenny Michael with Shaw. So, Kenny, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I'm always excited to be able to talk about Shaw and carpet in general and design. It's an exciting topic for me.
Well, there you go then. I always like to make sure it's something exciting and invigorating for my guests. So let's start with this. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do with Shaw?
Right. So my name is Kenny Michael. I am the design director for residential carpet in both Anderson Tuftex and Shaw Floors. So working with my design teams, coming up with pattern, trend, innovations in maybe tufting or printing, who knows what it might be. But making those beautiful products that we release every year.
So we're talking about home remodeling trends in 2024. So let's start with this. What can we expect from Shaw in 2024? Are there any exciting unveils that you could tease for us for the upcoming year?
Yeah, so for this year, we've really put more emphasis on trend itself and on product innovation. So those two things, trend and innovation. Some of the innovations that we do have that fit both those categories are, pattern match required. We have some new yarn innovations that we're going to be coming out with this year. We have overall new style directions for both Anderson Tuftex and Shaw Floors and more sustainability initiatives. So we have a lot going on when it comes to adding new product. We want them to be more beautiful, but at the same time, we want them to be more efficient. We want them to be easier to use. We want them to be more practical. We want them to perform better, and we want them to be better for our environment. So that sounds like a lot.
That does sound like a lot. Can you accomplish all of that?
Yes, we can, and we are going to. So a couple things that, like I said, the no pattern match required. That's a big innovation for this year that we're touting. We have several new products coming out. Discover, Ambitious are a couple out of Anderson Tuftex, Calm Expression, Bold Move Plus. Those are some patterns that are coming out of Shaw Floors. And what that means is we can add less repeatability for your aesthetics and for that design. And for your installer, he can install it just like a texture. You can head seam it, side seam it anywhere. So you have less waste, which is better for the environment, less waste, which is better for your pocket, and then as well as less repeatability, which is better for your eyes. So all those things coming together just makes it perfect for the customer. And all it takes is a little innovation on the design team. And so that's what we're trying to bring.
So as we look at that, is there any type of input that you get from trade professionals in general that you take into consideration when you're developing your products? I mean, do they have any type of influence at all?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. In fact, yesterday I was just in Baltimore, and I was meeting with some trade professionals. So speaking to installers, designers, and several other people talking about how can we make it easier for you. So for installers, that's no pattern match required is big for them. Row cutting is another big thing. How can we start designing for row cutting and et cetera? For designers, it is how can we start talking the language that they need? Talking about trend first. What are the trends? How can we help build their confidence and their knowledge? And that way, when they're selecting products, I can say, these products over here, Imagination Illumination, or some products that we have in Anderson Tuftex brand. These do fit the new vintage style, that more transitional, coming from traditional into a more contemporary feeling. And they know now, okay, if I'm designing for a space like this, I can now pull these products with more confidence and a little easier. So again, talking to those designers and installers, they're having more influence in what we're doing. We're trying to we have some new initiatives like the innovation station that we're taking to all of our shows, where we can actually start to show some things that are really far out that we don't even know we're going to launch yet. They may never launch. However, we're getting that input from our partners and our trade partners to see what they want to see. They're getting more input more quickly instead of just trying to get some input right before it comes out.
So in the same sense, that's from the people front, I guess we'll call it. But how home remodeling trends, where they're evolving, where they're going, what everybody says is the trend within the industry, how does that affect product development when you start to look at where things are trending, where they may trend?
Yes. So I think we're changing the way we're thinking a little bit. And I touched on that a little bit when I talked about talking more of a designer track. And especially this goes for like an Anderson Tuftex brand that is trying to be more A&D focused. We want to be higher end. We're trying to differentiate between the Anderson Tuftex and the Shaw floors. We really have to think a lot about trend and trend forward. So we have to understand the trend ourselves before we start even our inspiration for product. Um, so some trends that we're seeing, such as that new vintage that I just touched on. Another thing is new Mediterranean, that new modernist, the modernist that typically wanted the cold hard edges 90 degrees. They want something with story now, something with character, something like a basket weave, a stucco, tactility, those different things. And so we start to take and to encompass those into our products. And not every product has to have every trend, right? So product by product, we're being more targeted on what trends we're trying to fit a product into instead of just saying everything is for everyone.
I'm compelled to ask this question.
Yeah.
Can you find yourselves almost getting into trouble that maybe you're trying to follow a trend in product development, but the trend is short lived, or maybe not as trendy and popular as one believed, and now, well, oh, we've already developed this. Now what?
Well, the beauty I think of the trends that we're seeing now are they are timeless trends. So when I talk about that new vintage, we're looking at classic tartans and plaids and tweeds, and maybe it's a distressed lattice or a basket weave. Things that are timeless and never going to go out of style. They've been around for hundreds of years and they'll be around for hundreds of more. So we're thinking that timeless styling, but sophisticated and high end. And that goes for both Shaw floors and for Anderson Tuftex. Now, we do want to every once in a while come out with something that's a wow factor, more of a luxury item. And those luxury items do have to be a little more trend forward, and maybe they'll style out a little faster. But typically, when you have those very specific looks, those are rug looks, runner looks, things that are going to be replaced more often, anyways. So it makes sense to fit into that place. But we have to think about that as a design and a designer group. We have to think, okay, if we're going to make this more specific, we got to know it's going to be a rug. We got to know where it's going to be. We have to understand the end use of the product before we even start designing.
So I just had another thought with this. Whether or not people know this, but pretty much, I won't say all, but pretty much any carpet can be custom bound into an area rug in a
Yes.
variety of sizes to fit anything. You're not just
Correct.
restricted to what you find in a store somewhere.
Yeah.
Having said that, with some of those patterns and textures that you develop, in your mind, do you sometimes look at them and say, this is actually better as an area rug than it is as, say, wall-to-wall carpet, or vice versa?
So sometimes, specifically, we're designing for wall to wall, and it's
Okay.
meant to be a wall to wall carpet, but it can always be a rug. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's just a plain tweed cut pile. That can be a rug if you want it to be a rug. However, we do have some styles that are going to be more rug centric, and we know that. But we always design to allow for either a wall to wall or a rug, and that's today. I'm not saying going forward we might
Right.
explore doing some more rug specific programs only. But for right now, today, if you go to buy a product, it can be wall to wall or rug, whichever you prefer. And we actually do allow custom shapes as well in our rugs, which I don't know if a lot of people know. So if you want to do an organic cowhide shape or a dog bone, we offer those
Okay.
solutions as well. Yeah.
Well, you got to make the dog happy.
Exactly. Pet perfect.
So, and here's the other thing. Obviously, there's over the years, there's been a movement, and I know this probably breaks your heart, but there has been movement more toward hard surface than the
Yeah.
carpet world. So do you find a trend is more people getting those custom area rugs, because they may not be going wall to wall, but they still
Mhm.
like a bit of carpet? Have you
Yep.
been seeing more of a trend toward those custom area rugs?
Yeah, absolutely. Rugs, of course, are growing with hard surface growing, makes sense. What we're actually starting to see in the past 6 months or so is rugs are getting larger. People are wanting
Okay.
larger rugs, which is great for us. We like to call them rug rooms or almost to the wall rugs because people are going almost a foot off the wall.
Is that
So
is that an official term? Almost to the wall rugs?
it's not official, just something we say internally.
Okay.
But that's great for us because we're selling both the hard surface and the soft surface. So it makes a lot of sense for us to capitalize on both of those opportunities.
So we've talked to this to a couple of different people. So I'd like to get your take. Within the past couple of years, waterproof flooring has entered the marketplace in all categories, including carpet, which a lot of people may not even know that. A lot of people always know luxury vinyl. It's been there, but I don't know if they think carpet, and there it is. But what we've also noticed is we may have been ahead of the curve on that one, where the waterproof carpet was introduced, but the marketplace wasn't maybe quite ready for it, didn't embrace it as much. Have you seen a change in that regard? Have people begun to embrace it more as the awareness has grown?
I think a few things have changed, which have, yes, made it more attractive for the consumer. I think number one is we don't call it waterproof carpet. We speak to the solution first. So the solution, what is the solution for waterproof carpet? And for us, we call that our lifeguard and our R2X. So R2X for us is your first guard of defense. So if you spill something, you can clean it easily. It bubbles on the top. It doesn't penetrate into the fibers. So that allows you to clean the spill as soon as it happens. Let's say if you're gone for several hours and it does start to penetrate, it's never going to get to your subfloor. So those stains don't return, those odors don't return. You can clean it before it will never get past that barrier to your subfloor. It will always be on a carpet level. So if we speak to the solution first, that's a really big deal. The second thing is innovation in what we've done. So the innovation in for Shaw floors would be now all of our lifeguard is installed like traditional soft back. So there's no extra stretching or extra material for seaming. It's installed just like you would a traditional soft back. So installers love that now. And for a customer as well, having R2X, what that does is it coats the fiber all the way to the bottom to where some of our competitors will put a topical. And what that means is they just spray some chemical on top of the carpet that makes it slightly waterproof for a couple cleanings and then it's gone. Ours is all the way to the base of the root, so it protects your fiber all the way down to the backing. So those innovations and just our talk track, I think, are pushing customers to have more. And as we talk about pet perfect and we talk about different things like that and kid friendly, those are very important for those customers.
You know, RX2 sounds like a Star Wars character. I'm just saying.
It's R2X. Close.
Close. All right, there we go. So, well, you gave me a perfect lead in here because you just talked about pet proof and kid proof. Well, flooring that guards against kids and pets, that will probably never go out of style for sure.
Right.
So, since you started to bring that up, what are some of the benefits of selecting those features and traits? And is that just an ongoing trend? Maybe we can't even call it a trend because it just maybe is never going to go away.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever going away. I think that people are so used to the ease of cleaning on hard surface, they don't want to to go back to never having that ease again, even if it's a carpet or whatever the surface may be. And I think that is really what we bring to the table when we talk about pet friendly or kid friendly carpet. If you look at our pet perfect brands, what that does is it brings you a confidence and a lifestyle that can really let you be worry free when it comes to your carpet. I know growing up when I was a kid, when we had carpet in the living room, I wasn't allowed to eat or drink in the living room. So now we don't have to worry about that. If you spill your wine, you can wipe it up with a paper towel. It's an extremely cleanable, even if it's a white rug. It's not letting that moisture penetrate into the fiber. If it's dirt, if your dog has an accident, that odor is not going to penetrate. So we have all these new innovations that now make carpet so cleanable. At the same time, it's still the comfort, the warmth. It has the slip fall and the acoustic sound barrier that you want. It has everything that you would want out of the comfort level, et cetera, that I had just mentioned. However, it's still cleanable and it's going to perform almost to the point of where your hard surface is as well. So you can have all the ease of mind with the comfort.
Has there been a moment where a trend was just so wild that it frankly had to be bucked? It had to be set aside, saying, hey, I don't care. We can't do that. We're going to have to go with something over here that's just a more popular product in general.
Yeah, all the time, every day.
Does it break your heart?
Sometimes, as designers, and if there's any designers listening to this, they know what I say when your products are your children, and and when they get killed, it hurts. So we're every day we're innovating, and especially with me and my team, I tell them, let's not put any rules on anything. It may get shot down later because it's not efficient enough, or maybe that yarn system isn't as sustainable as we want to be as a company. So instead of pigeonholing ourselves from the beginning, let's explore, let's be innovative, let's look at what we can do instead of looking what we will do, right? So that's what we have to do as designers, is to put ourselves into that innovative headspace. And it's just an everyday part of that process. Again, like I said, we had an innovation station that we're showing off at all these markets, right? So I can already tell you a couple of these are going to die. For an example,
But that's sad that you're already seeing the death in advance.
but I can give you an example of one product that's it's half shag, half pattern. So it's a pattern with a shag on top. However, the cleanability comes into question. It's shedding a little bit here and there. So that's very trend forward, and it's a popular movement. It would fit the trend that we're seeing, that retro come back. However, the practicality and the machine that has to be put on, and the efficiency that it runs at, et cetera, you have to take everything in and make a business decision and a business case. That one I can tell you right now is probably.
Wow. John Travolta and the cast of Saturday Night Fever are all crying right now.
Right.
So, well, that's great, Kenny. I really appreciate you joining us today and giving us your feedback and your thoughts on this. Look forward to all the new products that are coming out here too, and where things are trending. That sounds great. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we're super excited, and if anyone listening to this hasn't went and seen Shaw Floor's new 2024 or Anderson Tough Tech's 2024 soft surface launches, please go check them out. They'll blow you away. That's a guarantee. Great looking stuff.
Yeah, now you've put it out there, so it has to be a guarantee. So
Yes.
all righty, great. Well, thanks, Kenny. Appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kevin.
Thank you for joining us on the ProSource podcast. Please like and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, follow us on social media, check out our website at prosourcewholesale.com, and visit your local ProSource Wholesale showroom for all of your home remodeling needs.